Everybody to social media, a step-by-step tutorial for accountants. And just let's briefly go over the agenda. First, I'm going to be talking about building a strong social media presence because it's not enough to just create the accounts. You also have to think about what you're going to put on them. Then I'll be going over Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn and be giving you some ideas for new content. Okay, so let's talk about social media in general. It is marketing. It's designed to help firms build relationships and increase referrals by increasing their visibility among bigger network of people by staying engaged and providing helpful resources to stay top of mind. It's not new. It's word of mouth, really. The only difference is that the technology behind social media is really just enabled us to amplify word of mouth marketing. Okay, so when you're starting a social media presence, if you're just starting, or some of you may have dabbled, and I got a lot of questions where you're kind of doing it, but not really, haven't really committed to it. So one of the keys to building a strong online community is by providing valuable, educational, and meaningful content on a consistent basis. So posts should be educational and relevant to your target audience's need, and I'll go into that a little bit more when we talk about what that means for your audience, because it's going to be different from person to person. You can promote any specials or events on social media to attract new followers and create excitement. So if you guys participate in any community events, that would be something to post about. I know that I had a professor in college who had his own firm. And so he would, he'd be my professor and he'd give lectures, but he'd also do like extracurricular lectures for other events. And, he'd share that information on his social media as his firm. So that's one thing you can do. You want to avoid only posting promotional content. So I know this is very tempting on social media, but you want to balance it between putting out a promotion for your firm and then educating your audience. So that's really all it is. You just want to have a well-rounded mix. Okay, so let's move on. Oops. Nope. There we go. Okay. So in order to engage followers, you're really doing that to cultivate relationships with them and build trust with them. So you can ask happy clients to leave a review on your Facebook page so others can see what it's like to work with you. That's one way to engage your existing clients and then also create some visibility within their own network of people. They're within their own network of friends. Because whenever a user takes action, you guys will see this on your own social media pages, but it'll tell you, so and so liked this or so and so commented here, and that's something that stands out in news feeds more and more. So encouraging your existing clients to engage with you on your social media is one way to create awareness within their own network. And this is particularly important around tax season when literally everybody is asking for recommendations on who to go to and who their friends trust to help them through the process of taxes and reporting their taxes and everything. So if you do get engagement, you want to respond to all comments, questions, and private messages in a timely manner. As soon as possible is best, but definitely within 24 to 48 hours. Keep your target audience's needs in mind when planning your content strategy. So the way that you can do that is, if you as an accountant, let's say, you know your clients, you know who your regular clients are, you know who your new clients are. So from there, just think about the questions that they're asking you, right? So what are they talking about? What are they asking you about? Is it taxes? Are they asking you about, I don't know, maybe they're having you work with a team of experts for like estate planning or like taxes around that. Maybe they're a little younger and they just got married and they don't really know how that impacts them, from a income tax perspective. So those are all just things that your clients are asking you about. So posting about those topics on your social media is potentially something that they're interested in because they're potentially already following you. So it's just another way to educate your clients. And really by sharing topics that you know you've gotten questions about, you're really giving them a reason to share and like and respond to your posts. So that's how you can tap into a little bit of that interest to generate some engagement. Okay, so let's go on to Facebook. So I'm gonna give you the way this is gonna work is I have a couple of slides in here that show you just best practices and how things work mechanically on Facebook, but I also have a couple of profiles that I will actually be using to show you. So if you guys want to just take a look at those profiles after, I'll just leave the content up. They're just dummy pages for, as an example on how to work this. I can provide the links to that at the end of the presentation. Okay, so Facebook basics. The top 4 elements to make a great Facebook page, and I did get a lot of questions on this, so listen up. This one, the first is a branded cover photo. A cover photo is, let me get my little laser pointer, this area right here, this top photo here. And on mobile, it's the same photo. It's across the top, and then the thumbnail in the middle here. You'll want a professional profile photo. That's this little square here. And then you want complete business information, and that is referring to your address if you have one, if you have an office. It's also referring to your phone number and then your website, any description of your business, maybe some interesting milestones for you. Those are all things that you can fill out in the About section. So just go through as you're creating your page and fill in as much information as possible. And then, of course, you'll want to include engaging posts and content. Okay, so just to get you guys oriented on what a Facebook page looks like from an admin's perspective, this right here, this only shows to you as an administrator of the page. It does not show publicly. So there you should see page, messages, notifications, insights, publishing tools. Those are all individual tabs that allow you to control the information on your page from different aspects. So the page just shows you basically what everybody else sees, right? You'll have the profile picture, the cover photo, a few tabs over here. Writing a post is here. That works the same as your own personal Facebook profile. You just write whatever you want, and it'll post it. The other thing that it stands out is this inbox or messages tab. This is if anybody contacts you privately to your page, that's where this is going to show. So think of it as like an email inbox. The correspondence is between you and the user only. Publicly, this is not shown. So it works exactly like email. Then the next part is notifications. So notifications are basically interactions with your page. So if somebody likes or comments or shares or just takes an action with your page or the content from your page, you'll know because you'll see a running list here of all of the actions that were taken. So it's like a little timestamp. Okay. Insights is your analytics dashboard. So this is where you go to find out how well your posts are performing, how many people you're reaching, who your audience is. This is basically insight into who you're talking to. So if I were you, I'd kind of just poke around to get familiar with it. Some of this is self-explanatory. If you don't know what something means, there's usually this little eye icon here, and then that will give you an explanation of what that particular metric is. So, go through and just kind of familiarize yourself with what the dashboard looks like for you. And then you have with Facebook, what are called publishing tools. Now this is super handy with Facebook because what it does is it gives you a list of all of the posts that you have already published. And if you look here in scheduled posts, you can actually schedule posts out to be posted in the future. So let's say you have a hard time with being, consistent with your content, right? Like you are really good about it one week and then the next week, things happen and you can't get to it. So what you could do is you go to the scheduling tab under publishing tools, you write a few posts for whatever period you want in the future. I typically do it like a month out. And then schedule a time when you want those to be released, and then that's it. It's taken care of, and then you have consistent content coming out throughout the next month. You don't have to worry about creating any more. Okay, in your settings tab, you'll want to review your page's privacy setting um, to just see if there are how updates to your it lets you manage updates to your business page. So really what it does is you can go through and just kind of check out how people can interact with your page and how they can post to your page because some people can post, they'll say something, they'll comment on your page, and they can post your reviews or they can just add a comment to your page. If you do want that, great. The default is to allow people. If you don't, you may want to go through the settings to just block that. It's really just a personal preference, but I have had people ask me about people, just Facebook users that use profanity on their Facebook page. It's not appreciated. So you can actually have a profanity filter turned on to help you limit that sort of engagement. Okay, so again, the cover photo, this is more for notes for you. It appears at the very top here. I'm not sure what the dimensions are anymore. Facebook tends to change them every year, but just Google it. Google dimensions for Facebook cover photo and then just have a photo that's cropped out. However, if you are a CPA Site Solutions social media customer, this is already done for you and it's branded to the template style of your website design. Okay, so the profile picture, that has to be a squared picture. So the dimensions or the pixels have to be the same height and width. Typically what you do is you can add an image of yourself or like a group photo of you and your staff in front of your office if you have a brick and mortar office. Most accountants tend to lean toward adding the logo because actually this is what shows as you're engaging on social media. That little circle icon next to your comment will be this logo here. So logo's just kind of the default if you don't have anything else you want to put on there. So the tabs here, this is how people think of this as kind of like a mini website, right? If you think about it in that respect, these are like the navigation items across the top of a website, only Facebook puts them over on the side. So people can look through your posts, look through your reviews, if you're offering any jobs, if you have any promotions, like that kind of thing. Those are there by default. You can change them in your settings, but most of you will probably you're probably okay just leaving it as is. You don't need to go messing with it. Oh, okay, here we go. I have the dimensions. So, yeah, so these are the dimensions here. And then for content, this one's really important. In order for the image to render correctly whenever you're posting images, that's the dimensions you'll want to use. Okay, so how to post on Facebook. So let me show you guys what that looks like. Okay, so posting to Facebook, really easy. If it ever loads. Okay, so here you guys can see I already have a couple of posts. You could either do that direction or do it this way. You create, and then you can write a post. Let's say, I'll say hello everyone. And then you can add a few emojis, a little smiley face. There you go. And then let's see, what else should we do? Messages, check in right now. Okay, so let's just do that. And then we can schedule it, we can backdate it, and then we can also just save the draft and come back to it later. So let's say I want to schedule. Let's go ahead and put this out tomorrow. Schedule it. Okay, so there it is. It's scheduled for tomorrow I'm Pacific Coast, so it's showing for 1:28 for me. And then that'll just be released tomorrow at 1:28. And that's it. Okay. All right, so the insights dashboard, I'll explain some of those metrics for you briefly. These are your analytics dashboards, and this is really where you can start to tell whether or not it's successful. So if you go here, you can, this is an overview. This is just like a quick snapshot of what is happening. I don't have any data on this particular account because it's just a fake account to help me explain things, but you should start seeing some data here if you're getting engagement and stuff. You can look at your followers while that loads. Okay, so if you have a couple of followers, you'll see there, you'll be able to see how you're trending on followers, whether they're coming organically or through paid efforts, and also tell you how many people are unfollowing your page. And then I think the most interesting part for me is posts, because if you go to the posts tab, that can tell you how your posts are actually performing. And it'll give you metrics such as reach and engagement. Engagement usually refers to any sort of clicking on the post or any like reactions, like likes or comments or shares. Reach just tells you the amount of people that you actually saw your content. So that'll tell you whether or not Facebook is showing your content, because of the algorithm in Facebook, it's not going to show all of your content to everyone. It's really just going to show content that it believes is interesting to your audience. So one way to get around this is by posting more images, more videos, because that typically signals to Facebook, you know, this type of content typically gets more engagement, so the algorithm is more likely to show that type of content. As you're looking through this, you also have a metric up here that doesn't show on this page, but it tells you when your audience is online. So if you're scheduling posts, take a look at this part of your insight so that you can schedule it within that window, because that increases the likelihood that your content will be seen. Okay, so let me just check if there's any questions. Not yet. Okay. Okay, so I think that covers the basics. There's a lot to cover on the Insights tab, so but poke around. But if you're going to focus on anything, if you have a couple of minutes, take a look at the posts, because I think that's going to be the most informative to at least help you get started. Okay. All right, there we go. All right, so if there are no more questions, we'll move on to Twitter. So with Twitter, the top four elements are very similar to Facebook. Have a good cover photo, have a professional profile, add information like your location and website. With Twitter, there's only so much room to add info. Twitter is very much about keeping things short and sweet. So all you can really do is add where your location, your website, and then just a brief description about your company. Okay, so the admin panel for this one is very similar. What you're going to see here, it's a lot just like a regular Twitter profile or account if you have that. You'll have your home, which shows you your profile, moments, notifications, messages. And then if you actually toggle over here to this little icon over here, which I'll show you in a bit, it'll actually activate another menu that lets you manage this account. Okay, so home is just like your regular stream. If people that you are following on Twitter as a business account their content will appear here, so you can actually see what your connections are posting. And then you can also create moments. So moments are like an album of tweets that you can curate your just certain tweets that you find out there, put them together in this album, and then share this album holistically if you feel that it's interesting to your audience. And then you can actually, they can be gathered by just liking individual tweets or searching profiles. Notifications is the same thing. It just shows you who's engaging with your page. And then direct messages is, again, like an email inbox, right? These are private messages between you and another user, which activates a pop-up window. And you'll most commonly see this throughout just social media, not just on Twitter. If you get a direct message from somebody, it's most likely going to be some sort of customer service question like, what's your phone number? What are your hours? You know, I have this and this and this. Can you help me with this? Or how do I upload a file into your secure firm portal? Like those types of questions. Okay, so this is the profile icon here that I was referring to in order to activate a menu, and then it'll, oh, okay, and then over here, that's where you put a bio, which is a description of your firm. Okay, in order to create a tweet, you would just hit tweet on that super nav bar, but let me actually show you how to do that. Okay, so here's this. That's that menu I've been referring to. It shows your profile. If you create any lists, if you create any moments, those will go there. Twitter ads we won't cover, but analytics I'll show you in a bit. Um, if you want to create a tweet, you just go there, or you can hit tweet over here and then just write. Um, Add an emoji if you'd like. Clown's kind of funny. See that. And then you hit tweet. And that's it. Okay, let's see. All right, so how to post on Twitter I've covered, but scheduling. Scheduling is something that Twitter used to allow you to do natively, like Facebook. It used to have a specific tab for it, but now it looks like they've removed that. So the best way to do that, to schedule, is by using freemium tools like Buffer or Hootsuite. This is freemium means that you can have like a subscription, but there's limitations on which features you could use in the tool. But if you're like a small business, I don't think you need to pay for the premium version. I think you can get by on the free version. Um, so again, scheduling refers to creating tweets using software to be released in the future. If that's something that you want to do, Hootsuite and Buffer also integrate with Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, so you can, kill four birds with one stone and just schedule content for all of your platforms if you want to use that many. Okay, so viewing analytics in Twitter is really easy. You basically just go there, hit the profile, go to analytics, and then you'll have the same sort of concept. You'll have a summary page. If you go to tweets, then you can start seeing metrics for your tweets over time. So this one, it tells you how many impressions you got. If you want to see on individual base how your metrics, this is the tweet that I just sent out now. You can see impressions, engagements, which are likes, comments, retweets. Those will appear here. And then it'll give you an engagement rate, which is how many engagements per impressions that you received. Okay, let's see. And just so you guys know, this is something that is documented in the deck so you have something to refer back to. And it's the same thing what I'm saying. It's, this is where you can get your metrics per individual tweets. Okay, I do want to talk about the audience insights part of the dashboard. So just like Facebook, this is where you're going to want to go to understand who you're talking to. Your audience here, you can see your followers. It's supposed to give basic demographic data on what you could expect in terms of your audience. So let me just toggle over to this one. At CPA Side Solutions, I can see that all Twitter users are into comedy. It gives me kind of their household income, gives me estimates, their interests, and if you scroll down, it'll give you more demographic data. I recommend going to these so that you can figure out what content might be interesting to them, right? So let's say there's probably a high interest in sports. Then, you can talk about, if you can find a story about accounting in sports and you know that that's something that your audience is potentially going to engage with. Okay, so let's talk about LinkedIn. LinkedIn, this is a profile, but a company page is going to have an engaging cover photo, professional profile, location, and engaging post, same thing. A company page admin is sort of the same layout. It gives you like a stream of updates that you've been posting. An overview tab, which is basically how you edit the content on your LinkedIn page. So if you want to edit your name, what jobs are available, your company description, and if you want to add any LinkedIn groups that you manage as a firm, this is where you'll do it. And this is also where you can add a profile photo and a cover photo. The analytics tab is the same thing. In this case, you'll want to go to the updates. So I can actually show you where that is. If we go here, we go to analytics and then we hit updates. Then you can see the same type of metrics: impressions, clicks, likes, comments, shares. All of the languages pretty much means the same thing, platform to platform. So once you get hang of it, let's say on Facebook, then you can pretty much get the gist of using the analytics dashboard on Twitter and LinkedIn as well. And then you have data here for followers, how followers are engaging with you. This doesn't have any data because, again, I don't have any followers on this page, but you can also track companies. You can do this on Facebook as well to give you an idea of how, I guess, a competitor might be doing on social media. So if you have a competitor in mind that you're just like, I don't understand how they're getting all of these likes, I want to be able to keep an eye on them, this is where you would add them. Oh, and then notifications is the same thing. It just tells you how people are interacting with your page. Okay, posting to LinkedIn is same idea as Facebook and Twitter. You go to your homepage, you share something. Let's see what we got. Yeah, we'll do public, and you can share a photo by hitting here. If you want to share a video, you just hit here and you can upload a file. But basically, you just hit post and then that's it. LinkedIn also does not have the option to schedule posts, so Hootsuite or Buffer would help you do that. Okay, I actually just got a great question from Samantha. She says, currently I have a personal LinkedIn account and I have started a company account linked to my personal one. Is there a way to separate them or does it have to connect to me or an individual's account? It has to connect to an individual account because LinkedIn wants to keep tabs on who is creating what, and this is kind of the standard now for social media. Facebook, once upon a time, would let you just have a company page without any personal profiling to it, but I think they found I don't know, they might have found some issues. They didn't disclose what it is, but I'm assuming they found some type of issue where now you're forced to have a personal account. The good news is that you don't the two company page and the personal profile don't cross-pollinate. So whatever you put on your personal profile is going to stay there, and then whatever you put on your company page is going to stay there. I guess the drawback is on the flip side that you have to now manage two different representations of you. Okay. Okay, so I already covered how to utilize LinkedIn Analytics. So let's move on to some ideas for content. I feel like this is where you guys are really want to figure it out. Okay, so a couple ideas for content. You can search hashtags. So you can use hashtags to find topics that people are posting about. For example, you can use tax help to see if anyone is asking questions about taxes. You can use these questions as inspiration to make an educational post. Also following other industry leaders. I know AICPA does a great job of posting really interesting content. I personally follow them just because I like to keep tabs on what it is that they're talking about. And a lot of their articles are very well thought out from your perspective as an accountant for your clients. So I think they're really great. The IRS does have some content. You kind of have to go looking for it, but they do a pretty good job of really emphasizing security. So I think that's something that you could potentially share. They talk about security as an accountant for your clients. So I think they would be more speaking to you as an accountant, but occasionally they'll shift their focus and talk to your clients. So I would just look for those. Accounting Today or any other top business publications, Accounting Web, those are always good sources. Another thing you could do is ask questions. Just ask them. If you don't know what people are talking about, or what your audience is interested in, put a post up that says, what do you guys want to know about? And then, one thing you could do is even create a poll. Polls are really popular, and what that is if you actually let's go to publishing tools. I'm just going to use Facebook as an example because this is the most commonly used platform. So let's just create something. So let's just say, what are you guys most interested in? Right? So then I'm going to go over here and let's go poll. Option 1. Oops. Caps lock is on. How do taxes work? I don't know. What's another one? Let's see. How many dependents can I claim? Or should I claim? Oh, what is it? How many dependents? We'll just do that. So you can see you can start adding these questions, right? And you can choose how long you want to run it for. So you can run it for a week, never stops, run it for a day. And once you hit that, if you post that, let's see. People can then select topics for you to talk about. So I'm just trying to, I know these aren't the greatest topics. I'm just making them up off the top of my head, but you get the idea. Okay, I just got another question about LinkedIn. Can you have more than one LinkedIn company account by John? Yes, you can. So you'll have, typically how it works is you have your own personal profile, right, that you have to have in order to create a company page. But from there, you can create as many company pages as you need. And then those will be separated from each other. What is the buffer option under the poll? Okay, so I personally use Buffer, which is a third-party uh, site that I recommended to you guys for scheduling. So that was back in slide. Let me take a look so you guys can reference it. So in slide 32, I reference Buffer using software to help you schedule posts. Once you sign up for it and you integrate the sort of like third-party applications to your browser, you'll start seeing it on your social media that allows you to take this and then add it to your buffer stream. So it's really a great way to grab content from other pages and then schedule it to your own. It's just a really quick way to do it as you're working. Good question. But if you don't have that software, then you're not going to see it there. Let's see. Oh, looks like we're getting a lot of questions. So let's see. John is also asking, can your employees have a company page for your company, or is there only one person tied to a company? So that's a really good question. I'm glad you asked that. What you can do, let's see if I remember where it is. You can go to page admins. If you go here to admin tools, you go to page admins and you can add more than one administrator. So if you have people out in your company that you want help from to like manage social media, just add them here and then they'll be managing the same page. It's a lot easier to do it this way because one, you don't want to create a company page for each employee. That's just going to get really confusing. You just want your one company page. And then also, if they happen to leave for whatever reason, then you can just remove them and they no longer have access to your page. So this is something, having multiple administrators to your page is an option on LinkedIn, and it's an option on Facebook. If you go to settings and then you go to page roles, you can add administrators here too. So, and you can choose different roles because there are different levels of how much access you want to give people to. So I wouldn't give anybody but yourself full access. And then anyone else that just needs to create content and look at analytics and work without changing or deleting your page, then just give them just one step down, which in Facebook's side, it's called an editor. And then I don't know if LinkedIn has the same designation. It looks like they don't. Yeah, LinkedIn doesn't designate, but if you have the option, make sure that you're the only administrator because that gives you full access, full power, so the person could accidentally delete the page too, which you want to avoid. Okay, wow, we're getting a lot of questions rolling in now. Um, Okay, so I do want to remind everybody, I'm getting a couple of questions on whether the PowerPoint will be available for download. Yes, not necessarily for download, but it will be in your inbox within the next following business days, and the recording will be there too, so you'll be able to hear all of this again, and you'll have the actual slide deck to refer back to. Let's see. I have another question from Paul. He says, is there a way to target or to see target audience on LinkedIn posts? Um, Not by individual posts. What you were seeing, I think what you're referring to is post settings, target audience. This is more if you want to sponsor your post. So if you want to pay to reach more people, then you define a targeted audience. But typically I just leave it public because then it just targets anybody who follows you and their friends. Um, okay, I think that's all of the questions for now. Okay, so let's go back to content. Okay, so let's see. We went through follow industry leaders and then ask questions. So I showed you how to put that poll up so that you can ask questions. It just makes it like a fun, interactive way for people to answer your question. The other thing is to set Google alerts. So a Google alert is super handy because you can basically tell Google, okay, I want to see search results for if something comes up and it's a question around again taxes or whatever it is. You guys can probably think of a better topic, but basically you tell Google what topic you want more information on, and then whenever something pops up in the search engine about that topic, Google will email you and will be like, hey, take a look at this article, is this interesting to you? So you can use Google Alerts for a lot of different marketing activities, but this is one way to specifically use it for social media. Okay, so that's content. I know that this is a very short presentation and there are a lot of questions. So if there's something that I didn't cover and I can't cover as a question, I do want to give you some resources that may cover some of these questions that you have. So if these are all linked in the presentation deck, so when you get it, you'll just have the link available to you right away. There's questions, how to choose the right social media provider for your firm, 4 free tools that you can use to enhance your social media. Those are all laid out there. If you just still are a little confused and want a little bit more clarification around social media and how it works as a channel, then I would recommend downloading Running an Accounting Firm in the Age of Social Media. And then just for for yourself and just kind of understanding ROI in general, I would definitely download Increasing Retention and Lifetime Value of Clients because I think that's a really good metric to have overall in marketing to help you understand how successful your firm is. Okay, so I'm gonna leave this up here. I do want to remind everyone if you have questions, more questions on your own social media or would like just a professional to take a look and help you give you some advice, don't hesitate to call. We cover obviously social media, but then we also have a lot of search engine optimization, SEO, or pay-per-click questions that you may have. So we can cover those off too, and website design. So don't hesitate to reach out. Okay. So at this time, I do see your guys' questions coming in. I'm gonna get to them. So if you have questions, no question is dumb. Just let me know, ask it now, and then I'll be answering for the next 15 minutes or so. Okay, so let's see. There's a question from Doreen, and she asks, any rules about retweeting, using, or sharing content? So, okay, so no like rules, quote unquote, but I would definitely think about if you're retweeting or using or sharing other people's content. Retweeting is okay because it takes the original post from that person and cites it for you just through the mechanics of Twitter. If you're sharing content, I would definitely encourage you, like if you find a good article on AICPA, right, and you just have the link and that's what you want to share, I would encourage you to at them. So if you see, like, I'll just mention our, CPA Side Solutions. Say we share a fantastic article that you want to share. Just at CPA Side Solutions, tag them, and then that gives credit to the person. That's all you really have to worry about because people really want you to share. They want their content out there. So I think as long as you tag them like this, you're fine. Uh, let's see. Tracy's asking, are there any good sources for staying up to date on social media trends and site changes like a mailing list or publication? Well, obviously, I'm going to go ahead and take this opportunity and plug ourselves. We actually write a lot about social media. There are a lot of social media articles out there, best practices, tools, common questions on our own blog. If you subscribe to the blog, then that would then put you on our mailing list and you can get any new articles that we post. We post about every 2 weeks, so you should be getting those. The other thing I would encourage you to do is you can follow industry leaders like HubSpot. They're pretty good for social media. I actually follow them myself. And let me think. Social Media Marketer, I want to say, socialmediamarketer.com. They're all about social media advertising. Oh, Social Media Examiner, excuse me. Yeah, Social Media Examiner. They're a pretty good thought leader, so you can follow them too. And they function the same way. You can subscribe to their newsletter, and then you'll be able to get that in your inbox. Um, and then just to get you in the habit of using your social media more, I would also encourage you as your business profile or your personal profile, go on Twitter and follow people. Follow CPA Science Solutions, follow Social Media Examiner, because then that's another way that the content will just come to you. Okay, so what's the point of hashtags? So hashtags are kind of a way to group content on social media. Okay, so let's say, hopefully there aren't any controversial hashtags, but let's look. Uh, okay, so you can see here, these are the trending hashtags, trending topics. Basically, what that is everybody's talking about a certain topic, and by adding that hashtag, it groups all of those conversations onto social media so you can get an idea of what everyone is saying. So by adding hashtags to your own posts, you are then including yourself in those conversations. And that's why you want to use them on your own social media. Okay, so our next question from Lizzie is, how often is too often to post? So you're going to get a different answer from different people, but I use the rule of thumb that I like to post at least once a day on weekdays. On weekends, I kind of just let it because I found that my audience isn't really on social media on the weekends, so I don't really post then. But I would say a rule of thumb is once a day if you can on Twitter. On Facebook, you can dial it back a little bit. I would say at least 3 times a week. LinkedIn, I would say twice a week maybe. So that way, that's kind of a rule of thumb. But again, you'll want to look at your insights to see when your own audience is there. So Lizzie, that's I think your follow-up question is when is the best time to post for most engagement? It's going to be different for every person, which is why I'm recommending that if you go to, here we go, insights, and you go to posts, Eventually it'll come up. Okay. Then here it'll show you when your fans are online. So that specifically for you, that's going to be when you want to target. And it's going to be different for each account. So take a look there. That's when you'll know. Let's see. Okay, so there's a really good question from Doreen. Thoughts on best way to get initial followers? Okay, so this is kind of the strategy that I've used. What I'll do is if my page is completely blank and I don't really have much content, the first thing I'll do is add content, right? So I'll add like 3 or 4 posts so that it doesn't look empty. So that's something that you'll see here. See, I have a couple of posts already. Then what I do is I actually go here or is it here? No. But what you can do is you can actually boost the post. Oh, here it is. That's what I'm looking for. You can boost the post. It needs to be published. Okay. And what that is you're actually paying for a short amount of time so that it gets in front of a lot more people than just your followers. So you're basically paying to reach out to people. That's a short-term strategy. That's if you absolutely have no followers or have less than 30, and you just need to get someone out there. And when you boost the post, you can choose who you want to reach out to for how long, and you really only need like $5, $10 to do it per post. So if you do that a couple times, um, you should get the ball rolling. Then once that strategy is done, what you can do is actually, let me see if I can I can show you this. I'm just gonna like this. Okay, so let me just go as me. I'm trying to show you guys what this looks like. Okay, so I'm gonna like this post as myself, as a person. Then, as an administrator, this is a trick I like to use. Oh, geez, it's not showing. Okay, so what happens is when you click on the number of people that liked that post, it'll tell you whether or not they follow your page, and then you can invite them to follow your page if they don't. So it's not showing on here because I'm the administrator, but you'll see a little icon here to the right of the name that says, it'll say invite, and then that way you know that you can invite them to follow your page. That's a trick on Facebook that I like to use. Unfortunately, that's not something that's available on Twitter, but you can boost posts on Twitter and LinkedIn as a short-term strategy. Okay, so I did get a lot of questions beforehand, so this might spark some more questions from you guys. Let's see. Okay, so I did get a lot of questions on how to create value for clients through social media. Honestly, the best way to do that is just by creating engaging posts, and that just goes back to really being cognizant of the topics that your current clients are interested in and then posting about it. And then, of course, you can also ask your clients to follow you on social media so they can start engaging. I think if you ask nicely through email, most people will do it. So, that's another way that you can gain followers and target the right people to engage with your content. Okay, so here's a really good question that we got before the presentation. It's what to stay away from or taboos for posting on social media. So with this, I mean, we all know the times that we live in, right? It's very tempting to take a stance, right? And that's fine on your personal profile. I'm not telling you not to do that on your personal, but as a company page, you are representing yourself and your employees and anybody that works for your company. So taking a stance as a company, although that the rules are a little different for big corporations, but as a small business, I would tend to stay away from taking a stance. You can ask about the topic. You can say, oh, tax laws have changed. What are your thoughts? That type of thing, that's fine. But taking a stance on how tax laws have changed and why and this and that, that's probably going to, depending on your audience, that's either most often going to hurt you. So stay away from, things that are really controversial. Um, let's see. Okay, so it looks like we're getting some questions about the products that CPA Site Solutions has to offer. So we have 3 tiers for social media specifically that are based on how often you want your content to post, among other things. So, right. So then with social media, we will brand your page according to your website design, and then we can help you post so many times a week. And there are other features depending on what tier you have as well. And then, of course, if you want to branch out beyond social media, we do offer different package sizes with SEO and pay-per-click. If you guys want more details, I would encourage you to go to our website and then go to, this pricing tab here, it'll tell you all of our pricing and our packages, because some of these we bundle up. So this is for websites specifically, but for marketing, we have different bundles depending on which marketing objectives you want to target. So if you have questions and need help on certain things, we have a la carte, just social media, pay-per-click, and SEO packages, but there's also ways to package it all together to save you some money. Um, and then, okay, so I'm getting a question. Do you as a firm create your social media pages, or do we do everything? We do everything. So we set it up. If you don't have anything at all, then we set it up for you. We brand it, we publish content from you. There's a kickoff call to kind of understand what you want the tone of your social media content to be, so that we have an idea on how to represent you. But then from there, social media is just set it and forget it. Just let us take over. The reason why I say that if you don't have any social media profiles at all, we create it for you. But if you do, we'll want to claim those because we don't want to duplicate any profiles for you. So by claiming those, then we can take control and update them and take care of it. And then it looks like there's a question on who will be the administrator. The primary administrator will be you because that belongs to you. You will simply provide us access the way that I showed you here with page roles so that we can post content on your behalf. But then, if for whatever reason, we part ways, then that page is yours. You get to keep it. Okay, so we have a question from Paul. Is it possible to add a video cover on Facebook? I know the profile can be a bit, that's a really good question. Let's find out. Let's see. Let's see, edit page. That's probably not it. Nope. Okay. Oh, look, change cover. There it is. Yeah, you can upload a photo or video. There you go. Okay, so let's go back to a couple of questions I've gotten before the presentation. Okay, so we got a question on how a social media content provider can be best integrated and utilized with your website with CPA Site Solutions. Um, if you have another website content provider, there's really no overlap. If you have your page branded exactly how you want it to be, then that's kind of it. But you as a professional can probably make a connection. So we, as CPA Site Solutions, we do provide you with newsletters and content and calculators and all of that stuff. So in addition to whatever your content provider is putting out for you, you can also share those tools that we provide for you as CPA Site Solutions on your social media profile so that your clients and followers can use them. Okay, better ways. Okay, so I do want to talk about referrals on social media. The reason why this is important is because as a person interacts with your page, obviously their friends will see them interacting with you. But one thing that's really cool, especially with Facebook, is that when their friends ask for recommendations. So, their friend puts out a Facebook post that says, "Hey, looking for a new accountant. Any recommendations?" Your client is then able, if you have a filled out Facebook page, to tag you in that comment. And so that is really providing a warm lead for you to interact with. When you tag somebody, so let's see if I can show you on mine. Hey, looking for an accountant. Any Rex? I'll just add a purple background because it's fun. So I want it on my, no, not my story, but I want it on my news feed. Okay, share. Okay, so let's say one of my friends sees this, right? And then Facebook highlights this and says, looking for recommendations. And they make it look like this really big, beautiful post that really stands out in other people's news feeds, right? So then a friend of mine could go try at Bauer, I just misspelled that, Bauer Evans CPA, right? So then they tag me. Go ahead and hit that. And then what Facebook does is it actually fills in information for that page, for your page. And then if you have any reviews, it'll publish your aggregate review rating down here. That's another reason why it's so important to have reviews on Facebook. Facebook is the only one that does it. Twitter and LinkedIn don't. So this type of thing, by tagging, that's really how you are generating referrals from your clients. Okay. Okay, so we've got a question from Jennifer. She says, is there a way to remove a recommendation for someone who is no longer working for the firm? Is this on LinkedIn? On Facebook? Mm, so I'm just trying to understand. So the person was called out by name on a recommended post like this? Okay, so if somebody recommended someone specifically from your firm on Facebook, there's no real way to change that. The only person that can change it is whoever posted it. So I would maybe politely just reach out as yourself as a user on Facebook and just message that person directly and then ask them to take it down. Because unfortunately, when it comes to other people's posts, only they have control over it and then they can delete. Hmm. Yeah, if she didn't, if the relationship is not ideal, um, there's not a whole lot you can do, unfortunately. I would maybe see if you can hide the post. Sometimes you can do that, depending on privacy settings. So if this is a comment on your page specifically, I maybe might just look at the settings to see how you are being tagged and how people can post to your page. Let me see if I can find it. Page updates, reach milestones, comment. Oh, here it is, visitor posts. So you can review your settings where it says allow them to just post, change it to just review or disable and see if that helps. Maybe they'll just disable the comments on your own page. But if it's something that's originated on someone else's profile, then they have control of it and they can change it if they want. Okay, so we're just a little over at time actually. So I am going to answer this one last question from Samantha. She says, does the same apply for LinkedIn? We have a person linked to our company who is no longer there. Um, do we have the ability to have that removed? So if they are an administrator in that respect, you can just go to page admins and then you can remove them. But if it's more of they're being mentioned through content on your page, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot you could do. Okay. So I hope that answers everybody's questions. We're about 2 minutes over. If you have any additional questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. At the end of this webinar, you will have an option to raise your hand. So if you have any additional questions, go ahead and do that, and then somebody will be contacting you to let you talk about this. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the presentation. Thank you everybody for joining, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.